before we get started. So from now on, just so you all know, lectures are going to be combined in here. So both juniors and seniors are going to have lectures here. Yeah, whoever made this decision. Oh, another amazing announcement. Peeps, thank you. Tonight and tomorrow night, the priests have kindly asked for us to announce that they are ready to beat all of you at any card game and any game you want to play. A super sum. Where's, can we, guys. Also, can we have a surprise, kind of? Can we have a drum roll? Drum roll. Father Joseph is going to be playing basketball and soccer with everybody today. Not the wall, you. Look at you. Just, guys. He's just letting you know, he is like amazing at basketball. Like, he's so good. He will crush every teenage boy's dream at basketball. So look for him on the field, he will be there. A few more things, just a reminder. Guys please. Just a couple more things as reminders. So during free time for the first half an hour, we're going to be giving out water bottles. You're going to find us in Purcell. Please come. We're going to have different lines for different churches. So we'll have a booth and everything. Will be very obvious. Also, please keep your eyes on the website because we're going to have a few schedule changes. There has been a few schedule changes already, and you'll find all of those on the website, one of them being something tomorrow morning. So keep your eyes on the website and sign up for the notifications. Again, it's a WhatsApp group, so your number and profile picture will be visible. So make sure if you're signing up for that, you already know and consent. You're all good in the hood. Okay? So, we're going to start. I'm going to hand this off to Father AP.
Statement to the front of the constituency. Those of you who I get a little feisty, so sometimes when I'm sarcastic, please don't take it as a personal attack on you personally. It might be, but just take it well. I want to ask you guys questions, so I'm going to need you guys to actually pay attention to interact back. And I'm not looking for Sunday school answers, unless you believe that as an answer, then absolutely. But if you're saying it because you think I want it, like I'll probably make fun of you. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that in some of the questions that I'm going to ask, I don't mind if you're answering from a secular point of view because I'm trying to drive home certain points. So this first lecture is about common truths, air quotes, society gives us, and to have a discussion about that because the theme obviously of this retreat is really big right there, that truth matters. And I'm going to be honest, this is probably the most defining thing I think for this generation because I think the biggest disease of North American culture, which we're exporting out, is the religion of relativism. Of like, everyone has their truth, right? And you'll see it on everything, whether it's Glee or Suits or whatever, like that's your truth, whatever that means. First question is, actually I'm going to take a poll before I ask the question. Where the Spirit is, there's freedom. Do you Raise your hand if you agree with that. What I'm asking in normal languages is where you have God, you feel liberated. Or you are liberated. And you don't have to say it to please me. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Wonderful Christians. Okay. But actually, many of you did it, which is fine, because I think. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. What is freedom? What's freedom?
Doing whatever you want.
Doing whatever you want. Okay. So, can you be free? How? Can you do whatever you want? There's consequences. Why are there consequences? It is in Ireland. No, I get what you're saying, but like I want you to articulate better. Why can't I do whatever I want? Something here I thought about that. Why can't I do whatever I want? Okay, so you're saying that sometimes I can be restricted. So then, then can I really be free? Okay, all right, I'll come back to that. That's a good one. I'm going to come back to it. Go for it. Good question. Good statement. So where do laws come from? Where do laws come from? Who forms the government? Okay, so the people form the government. Why do they form a government? To lead the nation? Why do we have a nation? No, I'm for real. Like many of you don't like me. I want to actually just take it back to basic roots. So where does that come from? Is that a nation? So Quebec's a nation? Get political. So what about Egypt, where you got 20% who have a very different ideal than the 80%? Are we two different nations? Okay. If one of you thought it was really cool to dress up as a mummy and go to school like that, could you? Okay. Would you? Oh wow, there's division on this one. Times have changed. That would have been a universal no before. So how many of you would be willing to be the bunny? That's bold. And I'm willing to bet that the three of you cute bunnies are probably more charismatic trendsetters, okay, or that you're seen as leaders. But socially, do you think it would be acceptable to show up like that? I guess it depends on. Okay. Guys, I said, like, bring it back. So, why is it okay? Why is it okay for the government to set laws? Some restrictions are required for your own freedom. Why? What if my view is obstructed by my neighbor's house and I want to blow it up to see the sunrise? Right, so why am I being inhibited from having a scenic view? But a law is made by people, so why can the law tell me not to do something? They know what's wrong for you? They care? Do they though? So were governments formed by caring people? Okay. They might have been. I'm just saying I don't think that's de facto intrinsically true. Go for it. Okay, before I move on, go for it.
So, there's a social contract. So basically, you have to be your own freedom for the better of the whole society. So that's why we have speed limit on the highway. So it limits your freedom on going really fast for the better of the society in general.
Okay, so what does that look like a social contract? And I'll move somewhere else into the law. Back.
There are peaceful ways to change the law. There's protests and stuff like that. But the government is peaceful. So the government is run by people without us. The government doesn't really do much. So the people kind of run the government.
Okay, I want to show you guys some pictures to get your reactions. Where did this thing go? If I plug this in, is it going to come on the screen? Whoever's on tech? So while I'm waiting, actually, okay guys, chill. Okay. Before I put up some pictures, I'm going to be asking you some questions about this, okay? But I'm going to ask you guys, first of all, are we agreed that we live in a democratic nation? Okay. What is a democracy? Guys, I can't hear him. Go ahead. Okay, so what are the claims of a democracy? What are we claiming when we say we're democratic? Free right to vote. What else are we usually meaning when we say that socially? Freedom of religion. Freedom of speech. Tell me if you disagree. We all get a voice. We all get to express an opinion. The majority rule. We are tolerant of opinions that differ from the reigning opinion. Are these things you agree with in a democratic nation? Okay. Okay. Is it on yet? So I'm going to say a word before I put up the pictures, and I want to get a sense of your reactions. Trump. Okay, I don't even hear yet. So Okay, what was your reaction to Trump? Guys, I like discussion, but let's respect each other, because if we talk the whole time, it's just rude to everybody. Okay. When I did this and like asked that question in Ottawa, everyone just started laughing right away. Okay. I'll leave the Trump thing alone for now, but I'm gonna put up a few pictures, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about it. What do you guys think of this? Do you know what this is? What are they doing? Hold on. Oops. Okay. Can you guys read it? What do you guys think of this? So these are people protesting at an abortion clinic, okay, in the United States. What do you think of this? I'm looking for what you actually believe. So how many of you think this is distasteful? Raise your hand if you think this is distasteful. Okay. How many of you think it is wrong to do this? Okay, so you think it's wrong. How many of you have like no opinion about this? Like this protesting in front of there with signs that say these kind of things, right? Eternity is a long time to be wrong. When you see this image, what do you feel? What emotion is evoked when you see it? Is your immediate reaction like, yeah, all power to them? Or is it like, oh, interesting? What is your response to that? For the world? No? That's what the Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about the protest? Go ahead. So I'm going to play devil's advocate so that people don't assume that what I'm saying is necessarily what I believe. Why can't I shame someone? Yeah, why can't I say to someone's face, you should be ashamed of yourself? What is the right way? What is the loving way? Why? Why? No, I'm for real. I want when you make a statement, this is what I'm trying to do with you guys. When you make a statement, know why you make it. You're claiming there's a right way. What is the right way, and how did you know that it is the right way? Also, everyone has a truth. Keep going. I'm glad you're speaking, so I'm not shooting you down. It's on purpose. Okay. What about when our Lord entered the temple and said, absolutely not, very aggressively? Guys, I can't hear it. Right, so why did you choose that scenario as the right way, and this scenario as, but he did this? I'm playing devil's advocate.
But it shouldn't be thinking a scenario, it's an overall. Different people see something different.
Okay, so then how do you say the right way if everyone is different?
Because we're all like, it's all different. But there is option, which is a cross. That's true.
But you're just not allowed to say it unless invited. So unless invited, you're not allowed? So what about the prophets, if we're going to take a Christian perspective?
That's a really different response. You're not going to elicit the response you want from a Christian, which is an open heart and relationship.
So how do you know that that was why our Lord dealt with the Pharisees that way? A. And B, what if there's 1% of the population that loves being yelled at? Maybe there's someone who that's the best way to get them. Because you're saying everyone's different. What if I'm one of the ones that when you yell at me, I'm like that actually personally. Like with my public confession, I like him telling me, you're dumb. Stop, right? I don't do that to other people, but I love it, okay? So what if they are like, oh, you know what, they're right.
And then you the first time you said it, like you're like, hi, I'm good, then you're an idiot.
I wish. But my point is saying, if such a person exists, and you're saying everyone's different, well, what if this is one of the different ways in which somebody can be reached? I'm going to skip it. I'm trying to make you think about a particular thing, and we're going to come back to it. What do you think of this? This is the same. Okay, so these people are not saying you're going to hell. They're saying stop the abortion, it's killing. Let your baby live. Woman seriously injured here by abortion. So here's a woman who was injured from the procedure. When you see these pictures socially, what is the expectation you're going to think when you see this or this? Here they're saying don't government fund Planned Parenthood. So they're protesting saying don't pay for people to have this procedure. And I may as well show you the fourth while we're at it. What are you supposed to think when you read this headline? What are you supposed to think? We all know like what evokes here when a society does that. What would you think when you see this headline? Go for it.
I actually like what the former American President Ronald Reagan said. He said that all those people who are in favor of abortion are already born. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All those people who are criticizing abortion are already
Right.
born.
I'm not actually trying to have a debate right now about abortion, just to be clear. I'm asking, what is your response when you see a headline like this? What are you supposed to feel societally? When CNN puts this on the board, what is the expectation that you're going to think or feel when you see it?
You're supposed to not support abortion.
Right. Like when you see this, are you like, oh wow, Pope Francis is brilliant, or are you like, wow, I can't believe he said that? Provoking hatred? Go ahead. Right. I agree. Right? Is that things are projected to you in a particular way. I want to show you a series of other photos. Overwhelmingly, you guys felt that this isn't my way. Guys, focus a little bit. I'm not going to keep going until I get ADD, so I'm going to get distracted easily by this. Okay, so that's that. What do you guys think of this? Did somebody call up Chrystia Freeland and ask her what her opinion is on the state of the journalists in the country? So why is it okay for her to tell them that she thinks it's wrong? Actually, in her actual tweet, she wrote, "We call for the immediate release of so-and-so." And she's dealing now with Saudi Arabia, right? So can you imagine Saudi Arabia tweeting, won't trade with Canada until they change their sex ed curriculum? What would be your reaction to Saudi Arabia making that kind of request? What is this? What is this a demonstration for? This is an anti-Trump demonstration. What do you think of this demonstration? Is this for those who are against the abortion ones, is this acceptable? Is this a fair demonstration? Okay, those who are saying yes, raise their hands. Okay, why is this acceptable? Did somebody say, I would really like for you to come and tell me what you think about Trump and his administration? So,
Freedom of speech by definition is a right that affects whatever views or majority views are by definition protected by law. So we have minority views which other people think are hateful. You have to protect those because they're essential to the functioning republic or law.
agreed. So that's why I was asking those who were against the first group, why is this one okay? I agree completely. Let me bring another one up. In case they say, oh, well, the ones in the Christian ones were very aggressive. This one has a picture of Trump. I don't know if you can see it, with a swastika as a diva, and it says pro-rape. So there's a swastika, like the sign that Hitler used for against the Jews, right? It's understood to be anti-Semitic, and it says pro-rape on the signs, and these are thousands of people coming out to express their view. With current media leanings, is this seen as a bad thing? Okay. Why not? Oh, sorry, and make our streets safe again and stuff like that. Is this more or less aggressive than the people at the abortion clinics? Why is this acceptable? Do you think society believes that this is not acceptable? Because there's a lot of people there.
Usually this is not a religious topic, and when people come to like Christianity or like Islam, this is like get too sensitive and people get like kicked off really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So this like people look at the abortion process and get like really mad for like about a few people, and people would look at people wearing like pictures of Trump and they just like keep scrolling on their feed.
Right. Okay. I'm going to come back to that two more and then I'm going to move on quick in a minute. Guys over there, sorry, I'm getting distracted.
When we pass the microphone, we can't hear the people speak.
Yeah, they can speak louder. They were a little quieter. I'm not trying to call you a jerk, but I get ADD. Continue.
And the other thing is that they were doing it right outside the clinic. All these people are like not doing it right in front of stage. Like they're not doing it right outside the White House, like right.
But they did do that too. Yeah, they did do that too.
And yeah, just to the fact that the
So I'll agree psychologically, totally disagree on an intellectual aspect. But my question then, before I go into some of the content is, so in a secular nation, does that mean that religion doesn't have a voice? Do you guys know who invented secularity? Christians did. The Catholics invented a secular government because they were living in the same countries as Protestants, and they said we need to have a common law that allows us to function together that are not based on the denominational differences. It's not actually an atheist invention, it's a Christian invention. So a secular nation ought to include the voices of all citizens, which includes religious voices. That includes Christians, it includes Sikhs, it includes non-theists, it includes everybody. So my question for you is, what is the platform? If you're saying they're not supposed to stand anywhere and speak, where is the platform at which a Christian is allowed to say, I believe X? Really? Can you, in the middle of the classroom, ask for them to pray? I'm not saying that's the right request, I'm saying can you? Can you ask the teacher to pray? Do you think if the teacher had the whole class pray, that would be received well and that teacher's job would be secure? And that's my point, is that you're asking something like saying, hey, can I get a free ticket to an air balloon ride? They're not going to say yes. My question is the why not? However, can they talk about whether or not it is right or wrong to be, to transition as a transgender person? Is that allowed to be spoken about in the classroom? So where is a person who has a different view allowed to express their view? That's my question. Whether it's a Christian or non-Christian, where is a person allowed to say, I disagree, even if they're not a Christian, they just simply disagree? What is the platform for this? Yeah, you know. So where is that? That you have to form a minority club?
For example, like you're going into a Christian school, like not a lot of people will ask you to stop and pray. Sometimes it just doesn't come up. But if you're going to go into a Christian school, like let's say you're a Christian and talk about whether or not you're about the transgender, about being transgender or not, like you're definitely in minority.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the answer, and I'm not being sarcastic. As in, I don't know what that means, right? Like, what does that mean? How does a group say we think this is bad for our culture and society? Where did it used to be? There used to be the town market, right? Like, look at the problem with our generation is we are divorced from history. Like, we're only looking at today as though history doesn't matter, but history matters very much. There used to be the public forum. People met each other that had different beliefs. People actually rationally discussed with each other and lived decently together and were able to do that. But let me ask you another question to really drive home the point and then to move on. How many of you guys know the Take Me to Church song? Take me to church, I'll worship like a dog at the shrine of your lies, right? I was born sick and I love it, etc., 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 right? Catchy song. Can you, right, or how many of you know the new Taylor Swift, You Need to Calm Down? How many of you have seen the video? Yeah, take a look at the video before you sing along, okay, where the whole video is against Christians who are against gays, okay, quote unquote against gays. What do you think if I were to write a song on the video? I would never do this, but I'm just asking. And I was just like, oh, take me to Shabbat and just go off on Judaism. What do you think would be the social response to me? It's not going to be accepted, okay? And the point that I'm trying to make is they're telling you, we're talking about the lies of society. This whole concept of everyone has a truth is complete bogus, okay? No one really believes that, except what they're really saying is have an opinion as long as it is the same as mine. That is what they're saying. Because when you have a different view, suddenly you're branded, right? I'm not pro demonstrating from a clinic, and not necessarily because of what you guys said, but partially with some of the things you said, okay? But that should not matter societally. Because you either have a free right of speech or you don't. So if you have a permit to demonstrate, and that is your opinion, why is that wrong? Societally, secularly, I'm not talking about religiously, okay? If somebody's standing with a sign saying, you're killing, and that's factually true, right? For example, the Pope Francis quote, where this hitman thing was meant to make him look like he is vilifying women, right? When all he's saying is, you've paid somebody to commit an act of murder. So is his analogy logically flowing from his argument? Absolutely, the premise and the argument follow, right? So you're entitled to disagree with his stance on it. But when society is saying, why don't you be you and I'll be me, right? And you just gotta try, and don't let anyone change you, and be your own person, right? And be who you are, seeing is believing, whatever it is. Like the majority of songs on the radio are either be you, or I just broke up, or I wanna get laid, right? Those are the three categories. So in the ones that are about be you, at the same time, it's like once you disagree with everyone else, right? Like Same Love with what's his face from Seattle, Macklemore, right? Like where there's an indoctrination of believe in church but don't believe the dogma. They're actually actively expressing to you. I use music as an example because I'm into music, right? But it's in film, it's in music, it's in culture, it's in school. Is the message is you have your own truth, and yet if you have your own truth, you're not loved for that. Right? If you were to say to someone, yeah, I believe in objective truth, there's a problem. How many of you feel comfortable saying to someone, I believe you are wrong? I'm surprised. That's great. I don't know many people who actually, in real life, are willing to do that. Right? And that doesn't mean I'm judging you, which seems to be everybody's reaction to everything today is, oh, wow, you're judging me. And I'm like, what? Okay, I'm going to give you an example that shocked me. In another province, where somebody was saying to me, well, yeah, we all have our own truth. And so with abortion, for example, it's like that's that person's truth. So it's like, okay, well, what do you think of murder? Anyways, okay, I don't know if they still have this custom that they did in the late 90s. Under specific circumstances, infanticide, the murder of an infant is permitted. That's their truth. I think, do you believe that's wrong? She's like, yes. I was like, why? And if you don't believe that, then your life is an absolute mess, right? We are designed, we are not self-created, okay? And when there's a design to something, it means that there is something intrinsically true about it, because it's designed, right? So if I, for example, take a car, and I decide that I'm going to shove the pen into the auxiliary thingy, and I want music to come out of it, it's not going to happen. In fact, I'm going to damage the car. Why? Because there's such thing as a hole for an auxiliary cable, and there's such thing as a pen. A pen is not a music playing device, and an auxiliary cable is not a pen holder. By nature. But if I get angry at that, I'm ridiculous. Right? Because if I were to sit down and think about what it is that I'm angry about, I'm angry that this is not a music playing pen in my auxiliary, which is totally irrational. Okay? And so if we don't understand that there's a design, we are saying the most irrational things in the name of peace and love and all this stuff, when it's not true. It would be like somebody saying, you don't believe in calories? That's cool for you. That's your truth, right? You won't gain weight when you have 5 Whoppers a day, because you don't believe in calories. That's complete nonsense. Okay? You can't tell somebody, like actually this is the same person who talked about abortion. I said, well, what do you think of that beautiful rainbow right there? And she's like, if you like it. And I was like, there's no rainbow. Right? Like, what do you mean if I like it? There isn't a rainbow. I'm pointing at a wall. Okay? That's a problem. Right? And I'm not making fun of her, actually, at all. Because this is the product of this way of thinking. I'm actually not mocking her. Right? Is that you're taught of that tolerance and freedom really means is being confused for what autonomy is, of having the ability to say yes or no. Right? So what God said to us is, I've designed you. I gave you my DNA. We are righteous because He is righteousness. It's not like God's like, I've got this great list of things I want you to do. I want you to be pure, I don't want you to lie, I don't want you to do blah, blah, blah. Like, it wasn't like He sat down, the Trinity, and they're like, oh, good one, right? Let's give them this. They said, this is my nature, I'm making you me, right? That's simply who you are, right? And to stray away from who you are, that's disease. You cause injury. If I knife my car, it rusts because of the material of the car, because of what it is intrinsically. Okay? This is what it means to be the image and likeness of God. So when God said a law in the Old Testament, what people don't understand, okay, this is what St. Paul talks about. He talks about the law being this ruler, this tutor. Okay? How do you know what a curved line is if you never see a straight line? You can't. Right? You have no idea. Relativity requires an absolute. Right? Relative motion requires an absolute, otherwise you will never know which thing was even moving physically. Right? The whole natural world functions because there are absolutes. So if you don't pursue truth, then what you're doing, that's why when I'm criticizing anything anyone says, is saying, even when you have the right answer, why? Because if you don't come back to design, if you don't come back to that there is an intrinsic way of doing something, you're going to be so lost. And then, if you understand that freedom is fake, it's not real, in the sense of no one can do whatever they want. Because there are social restrictions, because there are legal restrictions, regardless. It's like, why I didn't want to go with why the law does it. I don't care why the law does it, right? Is that there is a law, period, and you're restricted. Is that we as a society are saying there are times when my freedom, my autonomy can be restricted for the sake of something else. This is what God is saying. Except that He's also saying, if you do things as designed, you won't need any of that. And that's how you can understand something that St. Paul says, which all of you probably have quoted and never really understood, right? When he says, when he says, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. He's not saying everything's legal. What he's saying is, I can do whatever I want. I do have that freedom. I can do whatever I want. But not everything that I choose to do is actually good for me. And the good isn't a relative thing. It's not like, oh, well, for St. Paul, homosexuality wasn't okay. For St. Paul, fasting was a thing. No, St. Paul is saying good, and good has a definition, which our Lord says, there is none good but God. He's saying that if it's not God, it's not good, and if it's not good, I ought not to do it. But I'm allowed to do whatever I want, right? We can give you a billion rules, and you don't have to follow it, right? Anybody can give you an order, and no one can make you do anything. Not your parents, not your priest, not your bishop, nobody. You have the free agency to do this. And the person who gave you the free agency to do this is none other than God Himself. That even when God made you His kid, right, He said, you can reject me, I accept. And it was like, but, right, you do this, and I just, no problem, right? And even when Adam and Eve disobeyed in the garden, He's like, okay, class, right? He immediately was after them, right, immediately working with them to restore them to their glory, right, with humanity. And so, the claim of democracy, yeah, you get a voice, blah, 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 but it's not there. But rules are not arbitrary, okay? If I can understand that I have a real nature, then there's something that falls. If I understand that such thing as health exists, I have a duty, right? But what truth does is it does liberate you, okay? I talk way too much about my disease, okay? I have a disease. I can eat like 100 million different things. So when I find out that there's a truth that certain foods make me sick, okay? I have a new rule, quote unquote, that I can't eat that. But in my rule of not eating that, I've been liberated from disease. Right? Is that when I eat that thing, I'm now sick. Now that I don't eat it, I feel better. So if I want to view it as a rule, by all means go ahead. But that's not really what it is. It's about nature. Right? If you want to call it a rule, that's your problem. Right? But what society is trying to tell you is, become free from these restrictions. Right? This church is holding you back. You're not getting to be the real you. The real you is the image and likeness of God. So it's a lie, right? Described as true. The other thing that I was supposed to talk about, where did it go? My badness. Feelings. Anyone who knows me well knows I hate your feelings. Where did I go? I'm losing my notes. Feelings are really dumb, but But feelings are also very important. So I'm going to contradict myself on purpose, okay? What's really dumb is how society has made you start to use your feelings, right? I get really tense when like you're trying to have a conversation with someone and it's just like, and you said something that's true. I just feel that maybe that's not where I'm at right now, right? And it's like, oh. Like, if you're sinking and you're like, I'm not putting on the life vest, but when I feel it, I'll do it for sure. That's nonsense, right? I get that you have feelings. I have feelings too. I make fun of feelings, but I'm a very emotional person, actually, unfortunately, right? So feelings are not absolute truths. Let me give you an example. If you're in church and some kid is kicking you in the back of your leg constantly, what is your immediate emotion probably going to be? Yeah. What if you turned around and found out the kid has some kind of like hardcore disease and has zero control over their functionality? What are you going to feel once you see that? Remorse, right? Like, wow, I'm a jerk. Your feelings were irrelevant because there was a truth, right? What if you were mad at a friend that you think has backstabbed you, and then you find out actually he saved you from a big musibah, a big catastrophe? Your anger at the person suddenly might go to gratitude. Right? Your feelings are going to change because feelings are not always related to facts. They're related to your perception of a situation which might not be accurate. So what are feelings good for? So when they say, oh, do what you feel, whatever makes you feel good, that's ridiculous. I don't think it feels good to study for exams a lot. Right? I don't think it feels good to eat healthy all the time. Right? I don't think it feels good to a bunch of things, but we don't do them. Right? We still have to go through it. What feelings are good for you is they're indicators. Feelings tell you something about yourself. So that's where feelings are very important. Where if it's, I feel envious, right? It's actually important to identify that and say, why do I feel envious? You discover something about yourself and then you can be liberated from that thing, right? Your feeling might also be right. I'm not saying your feelings are always wrong, right? Sometimes you're going to find out something very, very true. So feelings have a role, but that's not the most important thing. And if we are going to do what society tells us to make feelings more important than anyone, we're going to have a real problem because everyone's really emotional these days, right? And so whose emotions win, right? So, well, actually, I feel really angry at your decision. Well, I'm even angrier, right? Like, okay, you win, right? Like it's not a way that you do things. We talked about political correctness. Believe you are, follow your heart, blah, 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 blah. You make your truth, and there could be multiple truths. So we've already talked about that, okay? In Christianity, we are making a lot of claims, okay? And this is what the rest of the lectures are going to be about it. And in Christianity, we're not supposed to be in this religion because it's nice, okay? Or because it feels good. There's a lot that really sucks societally about Christianity, right? Like, let's be real, right? It's not like I remember my own spiritual father one time I was talking to him about fasting. He was like, yeah, fasting sucks, right? And he's like, but we have to do it. Right? And so there's nothing wrong with identifying that you're not enjoying it at that moment. But that's irrelevant, right? There's only one question that is important. Is it true? That is the most important. The most important question of your life is it true? And the second most important question is, what does that mean? Because something might be true, but you don't know what to do with it. Okay? This is why the Jews and the Pharisees, my favorite gospel is the Gospel of John. They put our Lord on trial. The whole Gospel of John is a long trial. Okay? It's not just a trial in front of the Sanhedrin at the end of his life. Right? Where they're constantly like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Right? And you'll see this momentum build where Jesus actually, in the Gospel of John, our Lord, becomes very explicit actually about who he is. In the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, it's always like question mark of like, is he or isn't he? In St. John, he's actually so in your face about it, where he'll say, I don't know if you like if you look at the Greek, I encourage you guys at some point to try and study the scripture more. When he's walking on water, he says, "Fear not." Your English Bibles will say, "It is I." That's not what the Greek says. The Greek says, "Fear not, I am." Right? He's saying, I'm God. Just plain in his face. Right? The man born blind. When he's saying, well, who is he? So that I can go to him, and our Lord looks at him and says, the one who's standing before you is I am. When the Samaritan woman has this conversation with him, he says to her, yeah, the one with whom you are speaking is I am. Right? He's in your face. And so the Jews go nuts about this. And so the Jews are like, who do you think you are? At first, when he's making this claim about his father, right, they're like, who's your father? Isn't it Joseph? We know Joseph. Joseph's no big deal. Right? And then, but as it progresses, they're like, he doesn't mean Joseph. And so that's why they first ask him that, then they say, no, who are you talking about? And then it says, then they took up stones to kill him because it clicked. They're like, he is talking about God. So Jesus isn't the cute guy, right? Like when you wear your cute, like WWJD bracelets, like those are nice, okay? But our Lord wasn't like, I'm just a nice guy and I'm here like this, make you feel good. He wasn't. He stood boldly and he said, I'm God. Right? Imagine if in the middle of his talk, if the Pope were to suddenly be like, right? By the way, guys, I am the Lord. Would you be able to be like, that was such a cute talk? The Lord thing was funny, but like the rest was brilliant. You can't ignore that, right? Our Lord said, I am God. And so he's either a liar and a sheep, or he's insane, okay, or he's real. Those are your options, okay? And if he's real, if it's true, there are consequences, right? Because if there's a design, there are consequences. If there's not a design, do whatever you want. Relativity only works if there's no absolute. But if Jesus is who he says, if our Lord is who he says he is, then there's a consequence, okay? And so your differentiation from societal messages to you, this is my challenge for you, is to always ask the question of, is it true? And whatever you say, ask yourself, is what I'm saying true? My public confession, they gave me a canon as a youth servant before I was ordained, before I went to monastery. Never say anything you don't have a reference for. And I follow that till this day, because it's one of the best things that I ever received as a rule, right? That I can't just FD, right? I can't just say whatever I feel like, maybe he meant this. You're good at that answer? Okay, good. Right? No. It's either true or it isn't. If I don't know, I don't know. Simple as that. Right? Because if you say something that's not true, even when it's true, then what? Right? Then you're just participating in this global vote of truth. But truth isn't a vote. Truth is a person. Okay? Truth is the Lord God. This is why our Lord says it point blank. Right? When everybody's fighting about him, he says, I am is the truth. Right? That's simply what it is. Right? And that the truth liberates you because you become removed from darkness. Right? You become removed from the shackle. You become removed from the disease that's making you not live. That's why he says, actually I'm here that you can live more abundantly. It's up to you whether you want to participate or not. So in all things, seek the truth. There is an absolute truth, and the truth is God. Glory be to God forever. Amen. Any questions, comments, criticisms? Thoughts? Go ahead.
So then a lot of your reference, or a lot of your arguments were based on, this is what I understood, was that objective truth is based on God, right?
Yes.
So if there's an atheist who says, well, I don't believe in God, how do you show them there's an objective truth based on God?
By looking at the whole natural world. I was almost an atheist in high school, personally, for philosophical reasons more than this stuff, right? But the argument for design is I think it's illogical to ignore, right? The fact that you can put a Pepsi bottle on the moon in a particular spot is only possible because there are constants. So if there is not an absolute, then nature must not have absolutes. right? It's a natural argument to get God, just on a logical level. You can't make both claims. Either absolutes exist or they don't. This is why even the modern atheist movement, which was very relativistic 30 years ago, is not anymore. Because even people like Dawkins, right, are now making arguments of, I acknowledge that an absolute has to be there. That's what I read. I don't know, I haven't read his actual quote, to be fair. But it's to bring it back to that. There are a zillion constants that physics and math, gravity, they simply exist, and you cannot get a constant out of randomness. By definition of randomness, it's impossible. That we even have a concept called definition means we believe that there are some things that are absolute. Good question. Go for it. So unless you know the absolute, then you don't say it, right? But can you give me an example of something you're thinking of in that category? Abortion you can't, and that's why for me with abortion, I tell people who are Christian, we're not going to ever resolve this, to be honest, because my conviction about respect for life as an absolute does come from my belief in an absolute, right? Like me and Alfred were just talking this way before the talk, in the sense that when I was atheist leaning, I was still anti-abortion from a life perspective, right? But regardless of whether my arguments were good, bad, or whatever, it wouldn't matter because it's arbitrary in the sense that I elect to believe certain things, right? Because you could have an atheist who says, I believe that anyone can do whatever they want, actually, and kill if they want. There are those who might have that view.
We don't necessarily have to base it in religion, we base it in secularism. It's demonstrating that objective truth is one, consistent with reality, and also one consistent. So if you use the Constitution, for example, everyone has the right to life, to not be punished, and always have the right to live based on that. And then say, okay, well, if you kill someone in this scenario using this justification, why do I use that justification and apply it to others?
I agree you can have a logical argument, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that at the bottom of it is there is going to need to be an acknowledgement that whether you're using the law or logic or whatever it is that I can't claim an absolute about it in the absence of God, right? In the sense that as society we create laws, right? So if the law had gone another way, it would be a whole different argument, right? If somebody had made a compelling argument. And that's why, even for me, with those who come into the faith, I'm not big on people coming into intellectual debate. And I was like, even though I love intellectual discussion, in the sense that I was like, your belief has to be in this claim of Christ, not on you had a really good debate with somebody that was good, because you need one better argument in an off day to leave if that happens. This is why our Lord actually, before doing any miracle in the Gospel of John, always asked, do you believe? That was always his first question, right? Even when one person said to him, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief, he still did it, right? But he wanted them to confront that question. So the abortion one is a harder one because I do think that that's going to clash at some point, right? But the deeper question should always be an answer to yourself of, why do I believe in an absolute? Because the answer to everything in my view is because that is what it is intrinsically, right? The only thing that's going to be relative is my personal reaction to a situation. Sure, there's relativism there, right? But there can be an absolute. I just don't want to get into the content of other people's talks. There can be an absolute about a virtue. The expression of that virtue can be relative, right? One person's patience is not the same as another person's patience, right? But there's an absolute about a pursuit of patience or the goodness of patience, right? So it's a matter of you identifying the underlying truth. That's why my personal style is whenever someone talks to me, I'm listening. I'm not ready to pounce on them, right? And it's, what are they saying that is objectively true here? What do we agree on as an objective? And then identifying where are we disagreeing and what is the source of that disagreement? Is what they're saying based on something real and objective, or is what they're saying based on only emotion or a cultural preference? And if so, I tell them so. Where I'm like, but is that a fact, or is that simply what society does right now? Right? Like it's It's a better way of looking at it. Like, start with what is the truth. Always start with what is the truth. Okay.
So, like, how do you speak necessarily our truth in a very politically correct world? Like, we live in a very PC culture right now where I can't tell someone they're wrong, and they can't tell me I'm wrong. Like, it's very, like, political correctness in anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How do we speak our truth in this regard?
Well, I think you shouldn't be afraid to say wrong where it's appropriate, right? Just because cultural boundaries have now made it weird to do so. I'm not saying to walk up to people and be like, you're wrong, right? That's not what I'm advocating. But what I'm saying, for example, horrible example, Da Vinci Code, when it first came out, right? And I'm reading that book, right? And they're describing the Council of Nicaea as this giant fist fight. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. Historically, that's wrong. So I have no discomfort saying, I don't have to tiptoe around it, right? Or that's just wrong. That's not what happened, right? We have a lot of documentation about that council, right? The same thing with anybody modern, right? So I was often, even before I was ordained, so it's not just like I wear this. People don't like that I wear this. But at work, I had a homosexual technician. I was a pharmacist, right? It's a matter of whether you look Christianity. So I had like half my staff were like dancing around the issue when I first went there because I wore a big cross. So like, oh, he's religious. Oh, great, someone needs him to know that this guy is gay, which was very obvious, right? So everyone's to be toying, blah, blah. So at one point I just confronted him. I said, are you all just trying to tell me that so-and-so is gay? And like, I know. Bani, right? Like, you're my gay tech. I'm your straight pharmacist. What's the problem? Right? So like, because as a Christian, I wasn't going to treat him differently because he's gay, right? When he saw that, he was like, so do you really think that this is wrong? I was like, I do. I don't think you're a bad person, right? I think that there's a design to creation. I do believe that because I do believe that there is a God, right? And I know why I believe that there is a God. So I do believe that there is an objective expression of sexuality. I do believe that. And I do believe that we can fall short of a proper expression, but that is not an evaluation of a person, right? In the same way, and to have good examples, like for example, we know biologically that there are people who are born with a predisposition to addiction. And as a society, we don't say, Malish, in your case, go for the heroin, man, you were born that way, right? We say, that's horrible, and that sucks, and we're gonna research it, and we're gonna try and find solutions, and here are the support groups, and you need to fight. Right? So when there's an objective answer that is Christian in its nature, where there was not a single, I never treated him differently, I thought he was a great guy, right? When there's an answer that I can say, yeah, I think that's wrong. He's like, so you don't think this? I'm like, no, right? But I do think for society, because I think Christianity is true, I'm not ashamed to say that, yeah, I do wish everyone was a Christian. I do. There's nothing wrong with that. In the same way that many atheists wish we were all atheists because they think we're deceived. Right? In the same way that a Jew wishes we were Christians because they think that we're mistaken about Jesus. We just are very afraid to talk about disagreement. We become non-confrontational, which is why the end result is, where do we yell and scream? On social media where it's impersonal. That's where you're allowed to yell and scream at the whole world. Right? Because you can hide behind whatever handle. You can be Cuckoo Rules 2420 if you want, right? And not be, I am so-and-so and I have this opinion. Right? And that's the contradiction of society, right? So have a reason for your belief. Because if you're confident in your answer, imagine if I as a pharmacist, somebody would come up to me and be like, you know, like, you think this antibiotic is good for me. I'm sure what I really need is that anti-epileptic drug, because I read about it online. But he's wrong, right? Like, am I going to be like, I respect your view. You're entitled to believe that epileptic meds are great for bacterial infections. But I really wish you would take it. No, I'm sorry you're mistaken biologically. I can be nice about saying it, right? I can be diplomatic about saying it. I'm not saying politically correct, I'm saying diplomatic, right? And how I say it, but truth is truth at the end of the day, okay? Because what makes something true? Yes, that's another way of saying it. That's all said. Okay? It is not because you feel it, because you like it, because you proved it, because you saw it, because you did. Something is true for one reason only, because it is true. You don't have to have seen it for it to be true. Gravity is true whether you like it or not, right? Bacteria were a real thing even when we didn't have a microscope. There was never a time where that was not true. Something is true because it's true. So always know what is true, and you'll have conviction when you speak to people. And the part to work on is, this is what our Lord said, preaching the truth in love. It's not enough, you don't become a truth eater, right, or walking around clubbing people with truth. That's totally wrong, and I think that was the point you were trying to make, right, is don't club people with the truth, and I agree, right? But it's in love, right, of showing compassion, right? Our Lord, actually this is a beautiful example, the Samaritan woman. Many people don't pay attention to the whole dialogue. Saint Fotini tradition is her name, the Samaritan woman. She says to our Lord, you know, the Jews told us that we're not supposed to worship here. They say we're supposed to worship there, but we were told we're supposed to worship here. Our Lord didn't be like, he didn't just go to the, don't worry, you're going to worship nowhere, right? He actually addressed her question and says, salvation is of the Jews. That's not an easy thing to hear. Right? This is like a Muslim being like, Christians claim Jesus is God, and we're saying he's a prophet, and he's like, well, we all worship Allah. Right? No. Jesus said, no, the Jews are actually right. But there's a time coming where it's going to be X. Right? And so even our Lord never shied from speaking the truth. So speak the truth and love, right? And this woman clearly loved him. She warmed up to him very quickly, right? She was volunteering stuff about herself. So I know it's a long answer, but that's the core of it. Know the truth, speak in love, and never be ashamed of truth, because it's what regulates. Anything else before? Thanks, guys.
Hello, hello. Can I get another huge round of applause for AP for So right now we have free time until dinner at 6:30. I have a few announcements before you go. Here we're gonna have confessions during the free time, but if you want to pick up your water bottles, those will be in Purcell right now. We will be using the Purcell field today and tomorrow to play Ultimate Frisbee during free time. Soccer tournament is happening today. Check the website for the location of the field. And there will be a worship practice right here, right now, for the people that are volunteering. Anybody have any questions? You're on your way, right?